Hi there, welcome to page 2 of my art journal. This was page 1, and as you can see I've had a good start of adding pockets and tags to one of my pages, definitely altering the book. And the thing that I've got to be careful of as I start page 2 is just bearing in mind that I'll need to remove some of the pages as I go along so that the pages of my book don't end up fanning out, so that I can actually close my book when I have finished decorating it. I chose this book deliberately because I knew I would have to do this, and I'm looking to find the actual centre of the next set of pages, and that way I'll know where I can remove pages safely and find the corresponding page on the other side of the stack. So I've put in my piece of card and I'm just working out how many pages I need to complete my next page, because I've got a little idea and I'm going to need a couple of pages in order to be able to achieve the look I'm going for. So I'm carefully going to tear out a couple of the pages and try and do this as neatly as possible, and I am going to keep hold of these pages and you'll see why later. There may be a great technique for removing these pages, but I haven't discovered it yet, and I'm just using a pair of tweezers to try and get as much of the remnants of the page out from the spine of the book as I can. I was thinking about all the different ways that you could incorporate pockets into an art journal like this, and it was that gave me the idea to create pockets that actually looked like waves. I wanted to do an art journal page about the sea, or about our family's love of the sea. As I turn my pockets into pages, I want to make them look like waves rolling up on the beach. So I'm just drawing myself a series of waves, making sure that I've got room at the edge to turn or glue the pages down to make them into pockets. And I decided that I need more than 2 waves, and that's where I had a little bit of a design dilemma, because I'd only left myself room to make 2 pockets with my pages because of the pages that I'd removed. So I am going to use some of those pages to reintroduce that 3rd wave. So just cleaning up my scissors, got a little bit of glue on them, and then I'm going 2 pages into my little stack of pages and cutting along that top wave. Then I'm dropping a page and then cutting my medium. Now if I'd have had enough pages I could have carried that on and cut my smallest wave, but I'm going to do that in a slightly different way. So as I cut into the waves, I'm removing the pieces that I don't need any longer. So be careful of your stitching in that centre panel. I find it easier to rip down one side and then remove them from beneath the stitches. So I've got 2 of my waves cut and I need my 3rd wave. I've just noticed that I've got a lovely word that I'm going to keep on my page, which is seahorse. So I'm looking at the pieces that I've cut from the book, but they're not big enough, so I'm going to take the pages that I took out whole, and then I'm just drawing on that 3rd wave, and then I'm going to glue this page back into the book. And then I want to do the same for that little piece on the other side. So that will become my 3rd pocket. So if you watch my YouTube videos, you know I switch about from all sorts of different projects, art journal projects, tags, cards, home decor pieces, all sorts of things. I like to ring the changes. So I was wondering what kind of videos I thought I was creating here. Am I creating a tutorial, or am I just creating a sort of little look at what I did to inspire you to have a go yourself? And I think it's a little bit of both. I do want to inspire you to try this, or to make art journal pages of your own. They really are a fun way to learn, and they definitely let you explore your creativity. So I'm going to do a little bit of both. So sometimes you'll hear music and sometimes you'll hear me. When you hear me, I'm just trying to pass on a little bit of something that I've learnt as I've put this together. So I'm going to tell you now a little bit about gesso. I've never used it until my last video, but I decided that I prefer it to be quite smooth. If you put it on with a brush, you end up with brush marks. So I'm putting it on with a brush and then just rubbing over it with a wet baby wipe, and I'm hoping that's going to give me a smoother finish. And I am covering both sides of my pages, because the other thing that I discovered about the gesso is it gives me an extra layer that helps with paint bleeding through the project, or helps stop paint bleeding through the project, and gives me a little bit of extra strength. So I'm definitely giving, although it's a light coat, I'm coating both sides of the pages and drying them as I go, because I don't want them to stick together. So here comes the mood music. I've got Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven, and I will pop back in from time to time just to let you know, the bits and pieces that I think you might be interested in along the way. So I'm working on the very back page of my set of pages, and this is the page that's going to end up looking like sand, and I've decided again just to leave a word on the page that actually was in the original book, and so I'm just using a layer of clear embossing paste or texture paste just to seal over the top of that word seahorse. It just stood out straight away that that was the word that was going to belong on my beach themed set of pages. So I'm just taking a little bit of care to leave that visible as I make this page look like sand. So I'm starting with a base coat of sort of buff coloured acrylic paint, and I'm going to be showing you how I add texture as I go along to make this hopefully look like sand. So I started out thinking I was going to use splatter in order to create all those grains of sand, but I didn't quite like how it was going, as you will see, and I decided to just stipple on the colour with a chunky brush. That way I just get a little bit more control of the size of the little grains that I'm creating. But as it happened, I quite liked the way that this paint just gave me a little bit more of a sandy colour, so perhaps it was a happy accident after all. And you'll see that I have just given myself a guideline of where to work up to with all my stippling, so that I don't need to cover the entire page. I did with the base coat, again it was just more about strength, but now I'm just going to texture the entire area that shows above the wave with different colours of acrylic paint. I'm using a chunky brush to stipple the colours on and just trying to blend them into one another, and I'm just giving myself a slightly darkened edge. So I'm happy with my sand, and now it's time to begin working on the waves. So I'm just using a spare piece of card just to make sure that I don't get any of that blue on the sand that I've been working on, and I'm just starting out by base coating each of those little pages that are going to form the waves with a dark blue paint, and I'm going to give them 2 coats to start this technique. Wanted to create a watery texture on my pockets, and there's a little bit of trial and error, as you will see. I knew that there was an effect you could get using cling film or cling wrap, but I've just got to sort of play with it a little bit just to see the best way to get the kind of watery effect that I want. So I started out with straight acrylic and it just didn't lift off enough for what I wanted, so I'm adding a little bit of water to it, and then adding the cling film again, and realised that this is the way to go. I'm getting a bit more of a lift of that paint and a bit more texture by adding more water to the paint. So you'll see that it's all a bit of a learning curve. Don't be afraid to play. It's paint, you can always paint over it, and so I'm just keeping going, adding water until I get the watery effect that I want. I also had a try using a little bit of kitchen wipe and baby wipe just to create the texture on that watery layer of paint, but I ended up going back to the cling film. I just thought it definitely gave a more watery feel to the texture, which was what I was looking for. By carefully tearing the top of each of my pockets that's tearing towards me, I'm revealing some of the page underneath, and that is the perfect way to create the edge of my wave, and I was really happy with how this turned out. So by carefully tearing along the tops of each of my pockets, I reveal the white core of the book page, and they're just the perfect edging to finish off my waves as they lap onto the sand. So I just want to create a tiny bit of room in my pockets to be able to slip the tags inside. So I'm going to use these paper strips in order to do that. So I'm marking the top of the pocket, and then I'm just putting a fine U-shaped or no L-shaped strips of paper along the edge. So I'm just doubling them up, and that should just give me enough clearance that it makes it nice and easy for my tags to slip into the pockets. So I'm just putting them along the edge of the book, 2 layers, and then sealing down the pocket to the page beneath. So by leaving the torn edge on the pockets that I've had to add extra to the book page, it just meant that they blended in nicely, and you can't really tell that they were ever torn out. So I'm just repeating that process on the other side. So next up, I'm making the tags that are going to fit into my pockets, and these are going to be the tags in which I can add my photographs and memories of lovely days spent by the sea. And I want them to look exactly like the waves that I've got washing up on the shore so far. So I'm just marking out where I need to cut or tear my tags in order to have them poking out of the pockets and become extra waves, and then I'm going to give them exactly the same treatment as I gave to the pocket pages. So I'm going to coat them with the dark paint, then I'm going to use the little cling wrap technique to add the texture, and I'm going to do that on both sides of my tags. So I wanted to add some stamping to my pages, and I'm going to be using my rubber dance stamps to do that. And I'm using stamps from a combination of the Beach Retro set and the Travel set, and I'm combining the use of a dark brown and a dark blue archival, so depending on whether I'm stamping on the waves or on the beach. So next I'm using a brown archival ink to stamp some gorgeous shells onto my book page, and I want my shells to be washed up on my beach. So I'm going to colour these shells using my distress inks, and then I'm going to give them a coat of glossy accents before cutting them out. Remember, when you're adding a layer of glossy accents to any image, to keep the little nozzle of the bottle immersed in the glossy accents while you cover the shape that you are adding the gloss finish to. left it out since it's dry. I've cut out all my lovely shells and then I've just arranged them in clusters as if they have landed on the seashore, and then I'm just gluing them down using PVA glue. Using my distress inks, I'm just adding a shadow around the bottoms of the shells just to make them look like they're actually sitting on my beach. I had a good old route through my collection of photographs and found photographs with special memories attached of days out by the sea. So they're all photographs of me and my family enjoying days out, and I've journaled about the memories attached to these photographs. As I was looking at my page, it occurred to me that anybody looking at this book in the future, you know, in years to come, when this is a family heirloom, they might not realise that these are tags. So I just wanted to add a little bit of an indication that something's going on here other than just waves washing up a beach. So I'm just going to add a little pull, which I'm going to make with these strips of paper, and I'm just going to attach them to one side of the tag. So I'm doubling up each of the strips and just gluing them in half, and then I'm going to be painting them and then stitching them in position on each of the tags in my book. So once I've decided where I'm going to attach the little loops that I'm making, I just need to stitch them in place. So I'm lucky that I started my journaling a little bit further down because I didn't want them to show on the tops of the waves, and I've just by accident given myself enough room to stitch these little tags into position. So I'm cutting them all the same length, and then I'm going to add them to the left hand side of each of the wave tags. Once I've attached the little pull in place with a little stitched kiss, then I'm just adding a little bit of glue underneath or in between the label and the tag so that none of those threads come undone in the future. Made sure that I've used copies of all my photographs on my tags, and I've kept the originals nice and safe. So this one probably taken by my Uncle Jack on Crindon Beach with my cousins. You can see another beautiful British summer. We've all got our cardigans on. This is me sat on my cousin John's lap, but we are having fun sat behind that windbreak all smiling, and this is a photograph of me and my mum. So I just wanted to show you, you can create little pockets with your photographs if you want to attach more photographs than you've got space for. This one is a photograph of my son Damien on the beach in the Isle of Man, and as you can see we spent the morning building a glorious sandcastle, and I'm pretty sure that I had a little bit of control over that build. as I said, I'm using this art journal as well as to explore lots of different techniques to preserve some happy memories. And this one shows my mum, my dad and my Auntie Chris enjoying an ice cream on the beach, and me and my cousin and my brother sat on the beach looking very, very cold and wet as it happens, because I do remember on that day there was a rogue wave that rushed up the beach and caught us all unawares. We definitely weren't ready to swim on that day, but we all got wet and spent the day shivering as we dried out as we walked around and enjoyed all the sights and sounds of Brighton Beach. And so this tag will definitely preserve some of those memories for the future. That's my beach page all finished, complete with its lovely wave tags, and I'm really happy with how they've turned out. I just hope someone actually in the future spots that they are tags and enjoys some of the memories that I've enclosed in each of those little tag pockets. So page 2 is finished, but page 1 isn't quite. You can see I've made a start on adding photographs to the tags, and this page is all about remembering the fact that my parents and my husband's parents were both in the forces, and actually that's how we met. They were both posted to Cyprus and we were both in school out there, and that's how we met and fell in love. So this is a picture of my dad, and this is a picture of my husband's dad, and this is my mother-in-law. And she is looking rather wonderful in her uniform. I just need to get one of my mum, and then I'm going to ask my mum and my husband's mum all about the dates that they served, so that I can add them to the back of these tags. So I really hope that these videos inspire you to get an old book for yourself. Make sure it's not a valuable book and to turn it into a book full of your wonderful art and any memories that you care to share within its pages. So I hope you're going to enjoy this series. I'm having a little think now about the fact that I need to make sure that the next page that I do doesn't add too much bulk to the bottom of my book, because all of those tags have definitely done that. So I'm going to have a little bit of a think about how I'm going to rectify that situation, and in the meantime I'm going to put a little bit of weight on the top of my book just to flatten it down a little bit. So that's it, page 2 finished. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you find some of the hints and tips within it useful, but most of all I hope that you are making art journal pages of your own. Definitely a fun way to explore your creativity, explore ideas and to document memories, and I'm having great fun with my journal. So until the next video, if you like this one, don't forget to hit the thumbs up or the share button, and don't forget to subscribe if you don't already. I love to have your company on my creative journey, and I'm also going to check whether my brother's watching this video, because this is me and my brother on the beach, and he will leave me a comment below if he's been watching. So until next time, thank you for watching. Me again, just sharing a final few links. So this is the link back to the video for page number 1 if you missed it last time, and also a link to my blog if you want to check out all the creativity over there. This is a link to my tag videos, so a link to this particular tag and a link to a tag playlist. And then last but not least, you may not be aware that I make online workshops for larger projects, and this is one of those. So if you want to check out my workshops, please pop over and visit my Etsy shop.